You drained the account at 3:12 a.m.
It was joint money.
Emergency freeze granted. Return it or face jail for contempt.
The bank app didn't show a warning. It just showed emptiness. A white screen, a calm font, a number that looked like a typo because it was too small to be real. Available balance, $14.22. Maya Stanton stood in her kitchen at 5:48 a.m. with her phone in one hand and a mug in the other, coffee sloshing slightly because her fingers wouldn't stop shaking. She blinked hard, refreshed the page, and watched the number stay the same, $14.22. Yesterday, that account had held the down payment for her new apartment, 3 months of rent, and the money her attorney told her to keep liquid while the divorce was pending. Yesterday, it was safety. Today, it was gone. She clicked into transactions. A list loaded so fast it felt cruel. 3:12 a.m. Transfer out, $9,500. 3:14 a.m. Transfer out, $7,800. 3:17 a.m. Transfer out, $12,000. 3:20 a.m. Transfer out, $5,600. 3:23 a.m. Cashier's check order, $18,000. 3:29 a.m. Wire. Transfer, $22,500. Maya's throat closed. Her ex-husband, Grant Stanton, had emptied their joint accounts overnight. Not slowly, not with subtlety, with speed, the kind of speed that comes from planning. Maya's first thought wasn't anger, it was her son, because the school tuition payment was scheduled for Friday, and Grant had just pulled the floor out from under everything. Maya set the mug down and stared at the kitchen window, like the glass might explain how someone you once loved can become a stranger at 3:12 a.m. Then her phone buzzed, a text from Grant, 2 words. Mine now. Maya's hands went cold, because in those 2 words she could hear the entire divorce, every argument, every negotiation, every "we can be civil," collapsing into one simple truth. Grant wasn't trying to win fairly. He was trying to starve her out. And if you're wondering how a court can issue an emergency freeze in less than 24 hours, how a judge can threaten jail over money that vanished before sunrise, you have to follow the trail, not of emotions, of timestamps, because timestamps are what turned Maya's panic into a legal emergency, and timestamps are what turned Grant's midnight theft into contempt. Maya and Grant Stanton didn't begin as enemies. They began like a couple you'd never expect to end up in court. Grant was charismatic, sales executive energy, the kind of person who could make a room laugh, who knew how to sound confident even when he didn't know the answer. Maya was steadier, operations manager at a medical supply company, organized, precise, the person who kept life running when other people drifted. They met in their late 20s, married within 2 years, and built what looked like a normal life, a house in a decent neighborhood, a child, vacations that made it onto social media, and dinner parties where Grant told jokes and Maya made sure everyone had water. From the outside, their marriage looked balanced. Inside, it was a constant negotiation. Grant loved risk. Maya loved stability. Grant chased opportunity. Maya built plans. At first, their differences felt complementary. Then they started feeling like incompatibility. Grant began making financial decisions without telling her. Small investments. Business expenses. A new car lease justified as client-facing. Maya pushed back. Grant accused her of being controlling. "You don't trust me," he'd say. Maya would answer, "I trust you. I just want transparency." Grant would smile like she was being cute, then do what he wanted anyway. The marriage didn't explode, it eroded, slowly, until one night, after Grant came home late, and smelling like whiskey he claimed was a client dinner, Maya said the sentence that changed everything. I can't do this anymore, she said quietly. Grant stared at her. Then he smiled, not warm, cold. You think you can leave and take half? He asked. Maya's stomach tightened. I think I can leave, she said, and I think we can do this like adults. Grant's smile widened slightly. We'll see, he said. Divorce proceedings began like most do. Paperwork, temporary orders, meetings with attorneys, a new vocabulary of words that didn't feel human, equitable distribution, marital estate, temporary support. Maya's attorney, Serena Patel, gave her advice that sounded boring but mattered. Keep funds accessible, keep records, don't move money around without telling me, she said. And if your accounts are joint, be aware that either party can legally withdraw unless there's an order stopping it. Maya frowned. Even during divorce? Serena nodded. Yes, she said. That's why people seek temporary restraining orders on assets early, because some spouses drain accounts. Maya had laughed then, not because it was funny, but because it felt too extreme. Grant wouldn't, she said. Serena didn't argue. She just looked at Maya the way lawyers look at clients who still believe. Love will restrain someone who has already decided to fight. I hope you're right, Serena said, but hope isn't a strategy. Maya didn't file the emergency freeze immediately. She thought they could negotiate. She thought Grant would care about their son, Eli. She thought shared history would slow Grant's hand. She was wrong. Grant's first move wasn't draining money. It was messaging. He started sending texts that sounded casual but were designed to unsettle. Maybe I'll just sell the boat. Thinking about moving assets into my business. Don't make this ugly. Maya didn't respond emotionally. Serena told her, keep communication neutral, save everything. Then Grant requested a mediation date. He showed up smiling, acting reasonable, making offers. That sounded fair on paper, but had hooks buried inside. Maya felt uneasy. She couldn't explain why, but she noticed how Grant kept asking about timing. When do you need the money for your new place? He asked, voice friendly. Maya hesitated, then answered cautiously. Soon, she said, within a month. Grant nodded like he was memorizing the information. Maya didn't realize she'd just handed him a deadline. 3 nights later, Maya went to bed early. Her phone was on the nightstand. She didn't hear it buzz. She didn't hear the bank's security alerts because her phone was on Do Not Disturb. At 3:12 a.m., Grant emptied the accounts. At 3:29 a.m., he ordered a cashier's check. By the time Maya woke up, the damage was already done. Her first instinct was to call the bank. She did. She sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open and her phone pressed to her ear, listening to hold music that sounded insultingly cheerful. When an seesaw agent picked up, Maya's voice shook. My joint account was drained overnight, she said. I didn't authorize it. The agent's tone was polite, rehearsed. Ma'am, he said, the transfers were initiated by an authorized account holder. Maya's stomach dropped. My ex, she whispered. The agent didn't say X. He didn't say theft. He said authorized, because banks live in permissions, not morality. Maya asked if they could reverse it. The agent said no. Some transfers had already completed. The wire was gone. The cashier's check had been issued. The money had moved into shadows. Maya's throat tightened. Can you freeze what's left? She asked. The agent paused. You can close the account, he said, but you'll need both account holders' authorization for certain actions unless you have a court order. A court order. There it was, the thing Serena warned her about. Maya hung up and called Serena. Serena answered on the first ring. Maya, she said, hearing the panic in her voice, tell me exactly what happened. Maya read the transactions out loud, voice shaking. Serena didn't gasp. She didn't rant. She got quiet in a way that meant one thing: strategy. "Okay," Serena said. "We file an emergency motion right now." Maya swallowed. "Can the court do anything? The money's gone." Serena's voice stayed steady. "They can freeze what remains. They can freeze his accounts if we can trace the transfers. They can order him to return funds, and if he violated any temporary orders or acted in bad faith, they can sanction him. In extreme cases, contempt can include jail." Jail? That word felt unreal. Maya's voice cracked. "He texted me," she whispered. "He said, 'Mine now.'" Serena's tone sharpened. "Screenshot it," she said. "Send it to me. That's intent." Intent. The difference between financial confusion and financial warfare. Maya sent everything: screenshots, transaction IDs, the text message, the last month of statements, and the mediation notes where Grant had asked about timing. Within 2 hours, Serena had drafted an emergency petition, a temporary restraining order on assets, a motion to compel immediate return of marital funds, and a request for expedited hearing. Serena didn't call it theft in the filing. She called it dissipation and concealment, because in civil court, words are tools, and the right words open doors. The court granted an emergency hearing the same afternoon, not because judges love drama, because judges hate games, especially games that harm children. Maya walked into the courthouse with her stomach in knots. Her phone felt heavy in her pocket, as if the screenshots inside were physical weight. Grant arrived late, dressed well, smiling. He nodded at Maya like they were still a couple sharing small talk. "Morning," he said. Maya didn't respond. She watched Grant greet his attorney, Eric Vaughn, like they were at a networking event. Eric shook Serena's hand with a professional smile that didn't reach his eyes. Inside the courtroom, everything felt too bright. The judge, Judge Callahan, looked down at the emergency filing and then at Grant. "Mr. Stanton," he said, "are you aware there is an active divorce proceeding and pending equitable distribution?" Grant smiled slightly. "Yes, Your Honor." Judge Callahan's tone stayed even. "Then explain why you transferred nearly $75,000 out of joint accounts at 3:12 a.m. Grant's smile twitched. "It's my money too," he said. "I needed to protect myself. She's trying to take everything." Maya's jaw clenched. Serena stood. "Your Honor," she said, "we have the bank records. We also have this text message sent at 5:49 a.m., after the transfers." She handed the screenshot to the clerk. Judge Callahan read it. His face didn't change much, but his eyes hardened. "Mine now," he read aloud. Grant shifted in his seat. Judge Callahan looked up. "Mr. Stanton," he said, "this court does not tolerate self-help in dissolution proceedings." Eric Vaughn stood quickly. "Your Honor, with respect, the accounts were joint. There was no restraining order on transfers." Judge Callahan nodded once. "That's true," he said, "which is why I'm issuing one now." Then he spoke the sentence Maya needed like oxygen. "Effective immediately," Judge Callahan said. "I am granting a temporary restraining order on marital assets." Serena leaned forward. Judge Callahan continued. "This includes all accounts in Mr. Stanton's name, in any business entity he controls, and any accounts receiving transferred marital funds." Grant's eyes widened. "Your Honor!" Judge Callahan raised a hand. "Additionally," he said, "Mr. Stanton will provide within 24 hours a full accounting of where these funds were transferred, including wiring instructions and cashier's check recipient details." Grant's attorney objected. Judge Callahan didn't blink. "Overruled," he said. Then he looked at Grant with a stillness that felt like steel. "Mr. Stanton," he said, "if you fail to comply, I will find you in contempt. Contempt can include incarceration. The word landed hard. Incarceration. A jail warning. Grant's face flushed. Maya felt her own breath catch, not because she wanted Grant in jail, but because for the first time, someone with authority had looked at his behavior and called it what it was. A threat. Judge Callahan struck the gavel once. Hearing set for next week, he said. We will be tracking every dollar. Mr. Stanton, do not test this court. Outside the courtroom, Grant's smile was gone. He hissed under his breath at Maya as they passed in the hallway. You think you're clever, he muttered. Maya didn't respond. Serena touched Maya's elbow. Don't engage, she said. Let the paper do the talking. Maya nodded, because paper was the only language Grant couldn't charm. That day, the emergency freeze was served to the banks and brokerages. Accounts were flagged, transfers were halted, Grant's business accounts were restrained, his credit line was temporarily frozen pending review, and within 12 hours, the first trace came back. The wire had gone to an account in Grant's cousin's name. The cashier's check had been made out to a property management company connected to a rental unit Grant had been hiding. The twist wasn't just that Grant drained accounts. It was that he wasn't hiding the money under his own name. He was building layers, shadows, protection, which is exactly what courts consider bad faith. Serena filed a supplemental motion. Now, the case wasn't only about dissipation. It was about concealment, and concealment has consequences. At the next hearing, Judge Callahan wasn't patient. Grant tried to claim the cousin's account was temporary. He tried to claim the rental unit was a business asset. Serena presented emails and texts showing Grant had been planning to move money for weeks, using phrases like, clean it out, and move it before she files. Grant's attorney tried to object. Judge Callahan didn't care. Mr. Stanton, he said, this court's orders are not suggestions. You will return the funds. Grant tried to argue he couldn't. Judge Callahan leaned forward. Then you will explain why, he said, under oath, with documentation. Grant's jaw clenched. Serena requested sanctions, attorney fees, unequal distribution, and a finding of contempt. Judge Callahan granted immediate interim relief, partial return of funds within 48 hours, enforced by either lien and direct turnover orders. He scheduled an evidentiary contempt hearing if Grant failed, and he repeated the warning, more explicit this time. I will not hesitate to order confinement, he said. Money games in family court are not clever. They are destructive. Maya listened, heart pounding, not because she wanted punishment, because she needed protection, because her son's life ran on those accounts, school, healthcare, stability, and Grant had tried to weaponize money as a chokehold. The court saw it, and the court responded the only way it can respond to power, with bigger power. Months later, the divorce finalized with an uneven split against Grant. Not because judges punish people for divorcing, because judges punish bad faith. Grant was ordered to reimburse legal fees. He was ordered to return remaining drained funds. He was sanctioned for concealment. And the court record, now contained something Grant couldn't spin at: parties. He had been warned with jail, in open court, for emptying accounts overnight. Maya didn't celebrate. She rebuilt. She opened new accounts in her name only, as allowed by the final decree. She set up direct deposit. She separated finances permanently. She learned the hard way what Serena had tried to teach her earlier. Love doesn't stop someone who has decided to fight. Only boundaries do. And boundaries, in a divorce, are often written by a judge. One evening, long after the emergency freeze, Maya sat at her new kitchen table in her new apartment with Eli doing homework beside her. The room was quiet in a safe way, not the tense way she used to live in. Eli looked up and asked, Mom, why were you crying that morning? Maya's throat tightened. She didn't want to poison her son with adult details, but she also didn't want to lie. "Because I was scared," she said gently, "and because I learned something important." Eli frowned. "What?" Maya looked at him and chose her words carefully. "That when people are angry," she said, "they sometimes do things that aren't fair, and when that happens, you don't try to fight them with anger. You fight with truth." Eli stared at her, then nodded, like he understood more than she expected. Maya smiled faintly, because the real win in that story wasn't money returning. It was her son seeing his mother stand up without becoming cruel, because power can be loud, but sometimes the strongest power is simply refusing to be bullied. If you take anything from this case, let it be this: joint accounts are not protection when trust is gone. They are exposure. And when an ex empties accounts overnight, the bank doesn't ask if it's moral. It asks if it's authorized. That's why courts exist, not to fix heartbreak, to stop harm. The emergency freeze didn't make Grant a better person. It just limited his ability to do more damage. And the jail warning wasn't a dramatic threat. It was the court saying, this isn't a game, not when someone's stability is on the line. So here's the question to sit with. How many people wait too long to protect themselves because they still believe the other person will do the right thing? Maya waited because she wanted peace. Grant used that. Then the court did what it's supposed to do when peace has been weaponized. It drew a line, it froze the assets, and it told Grant, in plain language, that if he crossed that line again, the consequence wouldn't be financial. It would be a cell door closing. And for Maya, that wasn't revenge. It was safety. Finally.